Hello everyone and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host Prince Magnum. Welcome to another episode of In Your Face. This is a special episode of In Your Face because it's actually been in the making since, believe it or not, 2017. Let me take you back in time real quick so you guys can get a little bit of backstory. All of the problems that I currently face, where I have a blemish on my record for a crime I didn't commit. I was forced to plead guilty in that crime, and by state of Missouri law, the way that the prosecution set it up, I cannot appeal, even though I can prove that what they did, what the police department did was wrong. Okay, they falsified evidence. They basically told people this is what you're going to put in the statement, all of these things like this. So we know this. And of course, this has been the flashpoint where the state of Missouri has thought it funny to rip apart my family. So anytime, when Princess Faye was pregnant, they took away our daughter and our son, which came later. And right now, they're actually trying to keep me from doing the top speed run, taking away my license, making finances very difficult. The state of Missouri is a very, very dirty government. So dirty, in fact, that currently right now, as the making of this video, I'm trying to contact the United Nations and declare myself as a political prisoner of the United States. Yeah, this is not a joke, folks. This is actually a real deal. All right, now that we've established that, I need some sort of a proof, some sort of way to prove to all of you and to even the people within the UN that the police department in Washington is incapable of doing their duties as police officers. Before I begin going any further into that, let me say right now up front that I am a supporter of law enforcement. I back law enforcement. But I can also tell you that a dear friend of mine in the St. Francis County prosecutor's office would also say that I need to report this. I need to get this information out to the public. And he's, again, one of the kindest, loving gentlemen. Hi, Ryan. That I have ever met in my life. So, that being said, the Washington Police Department in Missouri is incapable of doing law enforcement. We're going to see that in this video. Currently, right now, like every good story, I had a choice, leaving, when I left my families after seeing them for Christmas. I could have went left, I could have went right. Right would have actually taken me home. Left basically takes me towards Washington, Missouri. Now, I already had it in my head I was going to do this, but I'm going to also admit I was scared to death that this could go sideways. I'm in Project Spirit. Now, for those that are unfamiliar with Project Spirit is my 1975 Ford Maverick, okay? There's not too many of these cars left on the road here in the United States, especially in the four-door class. So spotting this car will be very easy, right? Right? Well, you guys are going to get a big kick out of this. Now, since I'm stopped at a stoplight at the moment, let's go ahead and take a moment and talk about the stoplights in Washington, Missouri. The stoplights in Washington, Missouri, all of them have, video cameras, ways to get digital pictures and record video. As a matter of fact, I know these work because I've seen them work. I watched a gentleman pull just a little too far, forward once at a stoplight, and automatically the camera flashed. It was doing it to get a picture of his vehicle and his license plate. So the Washington PD will be able to track my movements when I do something wrong in this video, okay? It won't be a problem for them to track me. They'll know exactly where I'm going, what I'm doing, so before I even leave the county, I should have a police officer on my tail. Now, at this point in time, because I know I'm going to have to put up a fight, because if I get caught, okay, if I get caught in this video, they're going to take my camera, they're going to impound my car, they're going to throw the book at me, okay? Never mind that it's Christmas Day in this video, okay? Bear that in mind. Yes, it's Christmas Day. Yeah, they're probably not going to care as much as they normally would, but they're still going to care. It's the Washington PD because I'm actually going to the police station. in Washington, Missouri. Okay? Bear this in mind. So, first things first, I'm going to top off Project Spirit's tank, and then I'm going to make my way over to the police station, and I'm going to cause a little bit of a ruckus. Nothing too drastic, nothing violent, just something to get their attention, so they'll basically come after me. That's the thought process. I mean, it's the police station, for criminy sakes. You don't do anything in front of the police station, right? Right? Again, I know this is blatant, but you got to understand, I pretty well knew how this was going to turn out. So, at this point in time, we're going to turn in and, top off the tank. Let me also say up front, while I was there, I was even telling people that I run a YouTube channel, that this is Project Spirit, blah, blah, blah. All of that really cool stuff. So, I was already selling the Prince Magnum channel. For the record, for those that do not know, that's oftentimes how I get subscribers besides going in and networking with other people. I do both to try to build the channel, but I go out and actually, talk to people and tell them about the channel and then tell them where to find it and all that good stuff. All right, Project Spirit's tank is topped off. Now I have, at this point in time, I could go ahead and head on home, okay? I could just go ahead and call it off, but I really had my heart set on this. I pretty well knew how this was going to go. Again, deep in the heart, if I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. I don't think I've really said it here on the Prince Magnum channel. Sometimes you just got to stand up for what you believe in. Actually, you should really always stand up for what you believe in. And if you believe that you're in the right, stand your ground, which is exactly what I'm going to do in this video. I believe that the Washington Police Department is incapable of doing their jobs as police officers. Again, I am a fan of law enforcement, and if I'm willing to make a video discrediting they had to do something really bad. They had to, really get my attention. Believe me, they did. So, here in just a moment, what's actually going to happen is I'm going to turn on the street that's right next to the police station. I'm going to let the video kind of do the talking. This is not my best camera, so it's going to pick up more engine noise than anything else, and it's going to be kind of distorted, but you'll be able to kind of get the gist of what's happening. And you'll be able to see the police station. You cannot miss it, especially if you live in Washington, Missouri. Again, what I did was wrong, but understand this. When you feel you're in the right, and you have had your rights violated and things like that, yeah, what I did was wrong, but believe me, I felt that I needed to stand my ground. So, I'll let you all take a look at this. Okay, folks, let me say right now, when this was actually going on, I was scared out of my mind. I'm like, I cannot believe I just had the gumption to pull this off. I had the stones to do this stunt. From a legal standpoint, I technically have 3 misdemeanor charges, but I'm knowing the Washington, Missouri PD and knowing how the Franklin County prosecutor operates, I would actually be facing 4 charges. One of them would actually be padded up, and the other one would just be made up. So I'm actually looking at a total of 3 misdemeanor charges, but it would be turned into 2 misdemeanor charges and 2 felony charges. Let's talk about what I would actually be charged with, what I would suspect I would be charged with. Number 1, revving the engine in front of the police station. That's considered disturbing the peace, and I did that twice. Okay, I openly admit I did that twice, so that's disturbing the peace. Not a super big one, but you know, it is a misdemeanor. Okay, no big deal. The second one, at 2 different stop signs where I know there's cameras that could spot me at the police station, I openly and willingly, accelerated Project Spirit too fast. Okay, excessive acceleration. Yes, that's actually a traffic violation in the state of Missouri. Okay, so excessive acceleration. Whenever I was at that first stoplight, started revving the engine, Project Spirit's back tires did a small chirp. Technically, in the state of Missouri, when your back tires or even your front tires or any of your tires from excessive acceleration breaks traction, it's technically considered reckless endangerment or reckless driving. However you want, however they want to word the law, it's still considered reckless driving of some sort. So, again, a misdemeanor considering what I did, but here's where it's going to start getting dirty if I'm caught. What they will do is say that I really dumped that clutch and there was smoke rolling. They wouldn't bother to get any pictures, but because they're police officers, we're supposed to believe them. And because I did this in front of a police station, the prosecutor is going to want to throw the book at me and say, you can't do this in my county, okay? So now we're going to start getting into that area where, they're going to want to start throwing the book at me. So now I'm looking at a padded felony charge, even though technically it's a misdemeanor. And of course, last but not least, Project Spirit, whenever I, broke traction. For those that do not know, the Washington, Missouri downtown area where the police station is, there's a lot of cobblestone sidewalks. The cobblestone sidewalks are part of what's left from the earlier days of the town. Cobblestone streets, cobblestone sidewalks, that's a thing of the past, but it is part of the history of a lot of towns in the area. So this is oftentimes protected by historical societies, and are protected under state law. Even though my back tires for Project Spirit were nowhere near, where if I know them well enough, they would try to say that I burned rubber over the top of those. Of one of those sidewalks, now taking me into the area of destruction of historical property, and now we're looking at a state felony, okay? And then plus whatever they want to tack on for local ordinances, trying to protect historical stuff. So that's where we're at on this. Again, technically, I should actually only have 3 misdemeanor charges, all, kind of silly traffic violations, but again, there are several people in the Washington, Missouri area that would agree that this would actually be a thing. I would actually be looking at all of these charges. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they did this. All right, so let me say at this point, I'm actually so nervous that I'm in a turn lane that I should not be in. I'm actually supposed to be going straight. I end up having to turn right. I was so nervous trying to get out of town because at any moment I'm suspecting that I'm going to see flashing lights from a police cruiser for the Washington PD. I never seen that. I did see several police officers along the way. Actually, a total of like 5 police officers. I seen a state trooper. I seen 2 Franklin County Sheriff's deputies, and I ended up seeing an officer from Union, Missouri, and I seen a St. Clair police officer when I got to St. Clair, Missouri. After St. Clair, you get closer to actually, to Washington County and, of course, St. Francis County. But let's talk about this. Considering the amount of police officers that I seen along the way and the directions they were coming or where they were sitting, the word was out, okay? They were looking for me. I know there's been people that I've talked to that'll speculate, well, it's Christmas, they're really not going to care. It's not a super big deal. I beg to differ, okay? And let me give you a little bit of backstory on Prince Magnum. I've actually been an independent investigator on 2 felony cases brought in by family members because they had family members in a particular case that were victimized. The first case I was brought in on was a murder case. It was an actual murder case. It ended up being ruled as suicide, but at that point in time, that was actually the very first time I started exposing a dirty police department. But I was actually able to actually solve that case. And when the police looked at it, they said, this guy's right, but we're going to go ahead and rule it as suicide. Case closed. So that was my first time. The second time I did it, I was brought in. It was on an attempted murder case, and I actually had to identify how a person was being poisoned. They ended up, basically I took it to, I told them what I had found, and the person then took the stuff. It basically was a multivitamin that had been laced with insulin for a person who was not insulin dependent, and it almost killed her, and she was carrying twins at the time. That whole thing did kill one of the twins. The other one survived, thank goodness. But I was able to help determine that what it was, and I recognized that it was Humulin R. Of course, they sent it to a lab, and it came back. They did find one other compound that was that the lab couldn't identify, but they definitely recognized the insulin that was on the medication and should not have been there. It was a multivitamin. So that little back history, I have actually been involved with, actually doing serious detective work based on, so I knew kind of what to, that the police departments were looking for me. So we can now shoot that one right in the leg. We know that they were looking for me. So I've had dealings with, the Franklin County Sheriff's Department, and they're very good. They're all very good officers. They're very good officers, kind of restrained by politics in Franklin County, Missouri, but all of them are really good officers. Even the sheriff's a decent kind of guy. I've only had to deal with him a couple of times, but he was kind of under orders from the prosecutor. And I doubt he even remembers me, to be honest with you. Along with that, I've heard decent, I've heard good and bad about Union. I've heard good and bad about St. Clair. As a matter of fact, I've even, through Alcoholics Anonymous, had some dealings with Union, Missouri, and they're just very good. Every time I've ever had to deal with them, they're good officers. So we could pretty well shoot that in the butt. Now, you talk about state troopers. I don't care what state you're in. State troopers are good at what they do. The Missouri Highway Patrol is very good at what they do. So good, in fact, I should have been caught. Okay? So, I'm in Project Spirit, a 1975 Ford Maverick. A total of 5 police officers, several law enforcement agencies that should have actually spotted me, pulled me over, and I should have been thrown in jail. Project Spirit impounded, my camera footage taken, which either it might have seen the light of day, seriously edited, or it would have been, kept away to kind of prevent, showing that the Washington PD did nothing. So what gives? Why didn't they pick me up? And that's real easy. Again, Project Spirit. Real easy to spot. Not too many 1975 Ford Maverick 4-doors running around, even in her color. If you want to get technical, she's a unique car by today's standards. What happened? And that's really easy to explain. Even if you don't know what Project Spirit is, okay, you could easily say an old car, 4-door, light blue, looks kind of like a Mustang. Classic car, 4-door, light blue, kind of looks like a Mustang. That's an easy description. Even if you don't know what, you don't even have to have a license plate number. You just gave right there. That is a perfect description of Project Spirit. Okay? Without even knowing what she is. That's easy to find. Classic car, 4-door, light blue, looks kind of like a Mustang. And the police still didn't spot me. That means that the Washington PD failed at the most basic level of law enforcement, giving a description of a vehicle. Folks, if that does not scare you, if you live in Washington, Missouri, I don't know what does. The Washington, Missouri Police Department was incapable, knowing, and I know full well, that there was numerous police officers in the area looking for me, could not find me because they failed at giving a description of a 1975 4-door Ford Maverick in powder blue. A car that you just don't see that often. Okay, now that we've established that the Washington Police Department failed at being able to give a description of Project Spirit, let's talk about, this is not the first time that I've watched the Washington, Missouri Police Department fail at the level of law enforcement. There's a couple of other examples that I'll go ahead and give at this time. Before my run-in with the Washington PD, there's a particular moment where I actually had a relative that ripped off several banks, and we're talking, she was making off with several thousands. I think it was somewhere up around $50,000. And I mean, how she did it was almost unique, but, it was one of those things that it's like, this was kind of a, very embarrassing for the family. At that point, the Washington PD could not find my relative. So what I did was I went on to Facebook and was watching where she was, what she was talking about and things like that, and was able to basically go into her profile and find out what town she was living in. And at that time, use of mobile devices for internet wasn't what it is today. So that meant that she was having to use a laptop or a computer. That means there's going to be an IP address. By basically that simple deduction, I was able to explain to the Washington PD that they needed the IP address, and that would give her exact location, even if it was public Wi-Fi. It still took them another month to pick up my relative. Okay? So either A, they didn't care, or B, they still didn't know what they were doing. So that should be an indicator of how bad the law enforcement is. And as a matter of fact, the detective that was on that case, believe it or not, was the same detective that was involved in the case over my son where I was accused of child abuse. Surprise, surprise. Let's go a step further. We'll say within a year or two after the whole incident where they accused me of child abuse and things like that. I was attending AA meetings in Washington, Missouri at the AA clubhouse known as the Gold Cup. Great place for a meeting. That being said, the Gold Cup is quite literally right across the street from the police station. Well, to go along with that, the Gold Cup had a member that had relapsed, broke in to the Gold Cup, stole several things. On top of this, he had also stolen another AA member's car. So what ends up happening is they don't know where to find him. They don't know where to find him. AA members went out and found this guy, figured out where he was, and then in turn reported it to the police. It still took them another 3 weeks to pick up that guy. What was the problem? Were you waiting for him to die of old age? What it really boiled down to is they don't do their job, or they just plain don't know how to do their job. It's left up to you to decide. But considering the video footage that I've just shown you, I think we pretty well have an answer to that. Now that we've established the fact that the Washington, Missouri Police Department is incapable of doing law enforcement on any level for that matter, they wouldn't even make good security guards at a Toys R Us, even though that is no longer a thing. The question remains, now that this video is public, I'm wondering how long it's going to take for the insurance company that covers the Washington, Missouri Police Department to find this video and begin asking questions. Let me explain. Every police department has some sort of an insurance company, kind of like doctors have insurance to kind of back them up for malpractice. Well, police departments have the same exact thing, and they have to by law. That being said, if an insurance company has full belief that they should not be covering that police department, just like with the insurance with your car, they can say, we're not doing business with you anymore. You could try to give us all the money in the world, but we're no longer covering you, okay? And for the record, those of you firefighters that drive with your blue lights, if you're in an accident and it's not mentioned to the insurance company that you've got blue lights on your vehicle, if you're in an accident with those blue lights running, your insurance company can take your insurance away. But I digress. With this video going public, that means that if that insurance company for the Washington, Missouri Police Department wants, they can actually pull the insurance from Washington, from that police department. That police department has X amount of days to get a new insurance company to back them up, and if they can't, they will lose their charter, which means that that police department will be dissolved. Now, I will also say this. The drug dealers in Washington, Missouri have said numerous times that they know what they're doing is technically wrong. They know that they're breaking the law by selling drugs. But they also turn around and say, and I've heard a lot of them say this, that they know what they're doing is wrong, but the bigger criminals are in the Washington, Missouri Police Department. That should tell you something, folks. That should tell you something. So again, we're just scratching the surface on how dirty this police department really is and how incapable they are of performing their duties as law enforcement officers. So I know some of you right now are probably very angry with this video who work in law enforcement, but again, let me reiterate. I have actually talked before diving back into this mini movie. I've talked to many law enforcement officers and told them this story and told them everything that I knew, and they have said the same exact thing, that basically it's bad apples like that that make it hard for good police officers today. So this is why I'm presenting this, because number one, they did me wrong and they messed with my family, and number two, as long as we do not prosecute bad police officers like this, it makes it very dangerous for other police officers, good police officers, to do their job. It makes it very dangerous because then even the regular, everyday, normal folks don't trust them. So this video is not just for the purposes of discrediting a law enforcement agency, it is to protect other law enforcement agencies, and it is the first nail in the coffin to bringing my family back together as it should be, because the state of Missouri had no right. Now, while we're on the subject of the state of Missouri not having any right, let's also talk about the fact that I'm pretty sure that the prosecutor's office in Franklin County is fully aware of the problems with the Washington PD. I'm very sure that they're aware of it. And that being said, why would they even, if they're supposed to be reputable, why are they even bringing those cases to trial? Well, a prosecutor that doesn't prosecute doesn't get reelected. So they're doing this to keep their phony baloney jobs. So that already right there proves that even the prosecutor in Franklin County is incapable of doing his job and should not ever be reelected for anything, not even as the city dog catcher. So again, we're just scratching the surface of the problems in Franklin County, Missouri. Now, I will also say that the state government of Missouri is fully aware of these issues, but refuses to take any action whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I've even reported this to the Missouri Attorney General's office. He knows that these issues are a thing, but refuses to do anything about it. The Missouri Attorney General's office, their only purpose is to protect the interest of the state government. No different than you would actually see in, say, like Nazi Germany, communist Soviet Russia, even North Korea. If these things do not scare you enough, this is communism in the state of Missouri. People don't talk about this because they don't think they can do anything about this. This is an actual falsity. We can do something about this. And in some of my next videos, we will be talking about those things that we can actually do to actually solve this issue. What we can actually do. But to kind of break it down in a few quick words, the few things that we can do, number one, it can be a 1776 revolution all over again, where the populace of Missouri rises up against the state government. Number two, the federal government needs to get off their butt, surround Jefferson City, and arrest, basically surround the government quarter and escort all of the people that work for the state out in chains. Or, last but not least, we need to basically, one of the biggest things that we could do is the southern counties within the state of Missouri we're already talking about this. A lot of us have been talking about this more and more, basically voting to create a South Missouri, basically cutting out Jefferson City altogether and forming our own state constitution and, of course, a 51st state. And all of those people that represented the old guard in the old, what would have been the old Missouri, would have to retreat across the new state border just to avoid prosecution. Now that we've established how dirty the state of Missouri is, that it is a socialist government that we Missourians live in, we're not the only ones. This is a problem in the other 49 states, and it's just in Missouri we're willing to do something about it, and Missouri's filled with a lot of rednecks with a lot of guns. So 1776 isn't, that whole revolution thing isn't too terribly far off the mark. But in the other 49 states, more and more people are also becoming aware that their state governments are a problem. And we're still seeing a lot of problems within our federal government. For the record, I do support Donald Trump to an extent. He wasn't necessarily the best man for the job, but he was better than what we almost got. If you spend enough time in alternate media and actually taking a look at the issues that aren't actually brought to light, you'll completely understand that. Which again probably makes me a target by by the Missouri state government, because I don't go along with everybody else. I don't do the sheep thing. This is one of the because of these issues that face our great nation. This is one of the reasons why that I'm attempting to bring this to the light of the UN. The UN has not, obviously, they've not responded to any of my calls at this point. But that being said, the moment that this would make it onto the floor of the UN, it would now be publicly known that the United States is just as guilty as several other countries against crimes against humanity. And let me, explain in depth what I mean by crimes against humanity. It is very difficult in this country to get away with discriminating against African Americans. It is very hard in this country to get away with discriminating against anybody. But there is one group of people that they do get away with, and that's the Native Americans. I am Native American. I come from the Pima Indians. As a matter of fact, I still got family on the reservation out in Arizona. We just finally got approved to have our casino, which now means that we might actually be able to make a comeback and preserve our culture. But that being said, how many years were we under the jackboot of our government? How many years were my people under the jackboot? This should make you all aware, because if they could get away with the Native Americans, they can start doing it to other minority groups, even getting away with doing it to normal, everyday Caucasian men and women, which they do that. It's just that nobody talks about that either. So now that we've established the fact that, our government, whether it's at the state level and sometimes all the way up to the federal level, which they do that, just no one talks about it, we are all having our rights taken away. And in this video, you've seen me take a step forward to making all of you aware that we need to continue to keep fighting to preserve our rights, even if it's just those first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights in our Constitution. Again, this is now the flashpoint. And I know many people within the mainstream media will try to discredit this video, but the evidence is here. All of the information is here. I have more information, and there are several others that have even more than me. It's only a matter of time. The people will begin speaking out, even if it starts with just me. At this point in the mini movie, we're back in Bonne Terre, Missouri. Let me tell you, Bonne Terre was a beautiful sight to see, because I was very scared that this could go sideways. It didn't, and it basically, everything went in my favor, if you will. That everything that I believed would happen did happen. Basically proving that there are serious problems within the state of Missouri. And of course, now, after doing this video, the problems in several other states are now going to be coming to light and actually straightening out the problems within our great country. It can start in Missouri if you'd like. That's what I would love to see, is these problems, begin being resolved in the state where I live, And because at one time, Missouri was a very great state. At this point in the video, normally I throw shout outs out and thank a lot of fine folks for supporting the Prince Magnum channel. But because this is a deep alternate media where people, by doing that and saying that they support me in making a video like this and making a mini movie like this, it would put them at risk. So I'm not going to do that because all of the people that do support the Prince Magnum channel, I love them very much. So much so that I will do what it takes by not shouting them out as I normally do in videos to protect them. But at this point, I want to take a moment and say to all of you out there, okay, this is very important that I say this to all of you. Get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is. Just do something with yourself, especially if it comes to making our home, the United States, a safe place to live once again. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet and do something special for them today. And as always, for all of you out there, if no one out there has told you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.